And I'm very honored to be here to give some kind of my thoughts to share ideas and everybody's here. So my name is Yuko Hasegawa. I'm director of the Contemporary Museum, it's a 21st Century Museum in Kanazawa, and I'm professor of the global arts in the Tokyo Geidai and Tokyo University and Arts. Today, I'm going to talk about art and the new ecologies and initiate to prepare for our future, because I think this called in Japanese mirai jitaku, and we have to prepare for the future. But the future not coming automatically. We have to prepare to have it improperly. So I just the topic is talking about the concept of the exhibition, which we are working at this moment with several artists also and university people, because it's going to held in Tokyo Museum, in University Museum. It's the opening is May 28th to June 26th, and almost 1 month. So I'm doing artistic directors and also inviting 27 artists and also many students, also the university people working together as an exhibition committee. This focus on investigate of the current. This is a member of the exhibition committee, and also I invited several kinds of scholar. One of the Ishikura, an anthropologist, and also Masataka Shinohara, and he's a social philosopher, and which is also quite well known, and introduced Timothy Morton, those kind of new ecological thoughts. And also the artists from Tokyo University of Arts, and they are professor, also teaching and student, and Kazuhiko Hachiya, Motohiko Odani, Mori Yuko, and Sputzniko. And this means it's very important. Art school is a kind of the ecosystem, also ecologies, and how we can activate all those kind of professors, also those kind of academic people to just give a talk in a university, be together. Because in Japan, there are not so many kind of active and those kind of exhibition also program in art and museum in university, because I want to propose a new model of the function of the academic and also art practice, also connected to the current politics. So this is the exhibition concept, because as Mr. Kawamura introduced about general ideas of the, and how much we have to concern about art and ecology, because everybody knows about, because I'm just wearing some kind of, my kind of homage to dedicated suffering people and the Ukrainian people. So these days, world has been changing a lot, because particularly Anthropocene, and also over excess and capitalism, to default, overwhelming the world. Because this is kind of very but problematic, because I just read properly. In the Anthropocene and the excess capitalism are threatening the environment with unsustainability. In this context, artists have a lot of role to play as a mediator, as a translators, and investigating, observing a new ecology that is surrounding us, and communicate it to the public thoughts as a new aesthetic. Because we are talking about a new ecology, because the world become more complicated, because a lot of the new climate change, also lots of the conflict in between the borders, and particularly new network system, lot of the layers about invisible information and environment we have. So in a way, the world is not simply understood, also observed and interpreted. So that the role of the artists, also curators, become more and more important. This is ideas. Art influence the way that we live and think by presenting micro and perspective that engage the viewer's body, consciousness, and the sensibility through the sensory learning. And macro perspective that visualize the reality surrounding our world based on the data and the information evidence. It will influence the way we live and think. The art of the future will connect our fragmented world with an empathy and explore the possibility of the humanized, pluralistic humanity and including animals and plants and objects. Because that means artists very much, and also art world people is very much concerned about and to how we can investigate the new humanity, those kind of multi-humanity, so-called. In an age of the uncertainty, ambiguity, and power of the artist make invisible visible, and interpreting the world has an important role to play. So this means we have to create those kind of platform, the sharing, and also having an empathy to be feel together. So in this exhibition, 27 local and international participating artists whose creative activity range from art, digital design, sound art, architecture, and fashion will create a space of healing, also enlightenment, by combining sight, sound, touch, body, and information perception in an organic ecological harmony. We created a space of the healing and enlightenment. In addition to scientific and technical research, there is an aesthetic as a metaphorical power that appears to the sense and heart of the viewer. In addition to the artists from Japan and abroad, the exhibition features the participation of the teaching assistant from the Tokyo University, National University of Arts, and also curatorial assistant presenting a model of the future and the future art of the education. Under the overall direction, myself, and each of the artists and curators make a spontaneous proposal for the exhibition. That I wouldn't give any kind of strong direction as a normal curatorship. So that which means created like a home and ecosystem through the great interrelationships between them. So that means I say this is a Hanashigai curation and also like a shepherd curation. But my only role is to just keep them to safety, to landing and a certain kind of space and properly. So this is a shepherd curation that I just created that word. The bye-bye and a strong directorship and a strong dictatorship as a curators. Also, I just want to notice the book. And this exhibition also related to the book. Art and the New Ecology, the Anthropocene as a desiring time. So I just supervise also editing this book, and which will be published in the Ibunsha in the end of the April, with including the artworks and artist works, and also discussing the book, and curated by researchers who contribute to the book. This is the table contents. So, I just give some general talk and ideas, the text, also Masataka Shinohara, and Ringo Kawaguchi, and Timothy Morton. That's the topic. And also Ishikura, talking about anthropology and art. And quite important things. And I have been organizing several lecture series in university in the last 6 years. I invited those kind of important scholars like Bruno Latour, and he's one of the top thinker at this moment. So that means he gave lectures, and we just pick up those his lecture. And also Andrew Franke, and he's also a very important curator, also thinker in Berlin. And he's talking about updated animism. So that, and third one is also post-internet art. It's the Lauren Boyle, and she's an initiator of this magazine in New York. So all this, the contents are quite important to think about, how the art and also curatorial practice, both, and it's a quite important role in the future. So this is a participant artist. Just this is an 27 artists and 11 Japanese artists. Others is a foreign artist. When just look at it's quite many women artists also group. It's a visual art section. And also secondary and visual art as well. And this is several of the artists, and it's quite important. But I just show it some of the artists afterwards. And also the fashion design and Hatra and the Synflux. It's a collaboration, and they are picking up several interesting images from internet to just mix the animal images also and paste on the clothes. Also, it's a quite important sound multimedia installation. Ryuichi Sakamoto, Shiro Takatani, also and Yuko Mori, those kind of people. And the architecture, Junya Ishigami and Iku Watanabe. And the botanical researcher, it's Stefano Mancuso, and he's a professor of the University of Florence. So the venue is Tokyo University Arts University Museum and 3F. Some of them you might be in there. Also another venue to just showing some of the sound installation as a fifth floor. It's a artist run space. One of my students and he just opened this space, the venues. It's the distance is like this. Just this is Ueno Park and the university, and also fifth floor. Just less than minutes walk in between. I just want to show you some of the artists, because Ryuichi Sakamoto is very famous. Also, he has been working on those kind of sustainability, nature and sound for a long time, because he has very strong statement as always. And we just using one of the balcony, and here is showing this sound installation, because this sound installation, this is other installation and photos in other venues, but he just pick up some sound from the kind of the university environment. There are many kind of trees and also natural environment university together with his own kind of sound. This is a very mixed up to installation and outside, inside. Yuko Mori and decomposition. It's very interesting. She says this is something like a fruit synthesizer, and she just presented this and first presentation installation shown in Hong Kong, because she was very much inspired by lots of the rich kind of fruits there. So in a way, Morris is very good, and always she just put a situation to just make it play an object. Also, sometimes this kind of fruits and natural things and start to playing the music himself, because she's kind of master to listening and those kind of sound from the object itself. It's very non-human, and approaches. And also, it's very interesting. And we just started learning from the new kind of relationships and our environment, object, and ourselves. This is Marina Zurko, and originally she comes from Eastern Europe, but living in New York now. And she using digital and sound animation. This animation is based on a software, a generated ecosystem, which changes over the period of 140 hours. Mesocosmos is a term for the environmental science, meaning the slice of the ecosystem that one has isolated in order to study. So, and she picked up one of the areas and Texas, and this is the oil company. Also, there is small kind of pond is that appear there, but around that there are very strange kind of the ecologies and natural and environmental change has been showing, so has been showed. So I just want to show it some of the videos. すいません、ビデオお願いいたします。Please start the videos. Because when you look at this one of the slice of our kind of, environment, because a lot of the change in 1 year, so in a way, sometimes we could find very strange, weird, and people with the hazard suits. So in a way, this kind of small sink, and it's a kind of oil pool, and has been changing also, and has been triggered to create lots of kind of environmental change, because you see the train back. This person to wearing hazard suits, because must be something happen, but it's not sure. Because this is a kind of the narrative, and how the narrative to be can depict and what happened, our environment, something invisible and something visible. And many artists are creating a new narrative and a story to just giving the idea to sharing with the people. And so even if those kind of plastic bag and floating in the sky, and the showing some of the our daily life, also what the plastic is going to be, where is the plastic going to be. はい、じゃあ次に参ります。ありがとうございます。じゃあ次に写真に戻りますね。はい、ありがとうございました。はい。で、はい。Next is Aki Nomata, and I think some of them you already know about, because she's going to she's an artist and working with animals like shell crab, and also those kind of small insect, also something like pearl shell, and those kind of living creatures, and she worked together. Because for instance, this is one of the piece. There is a crab known as homora that lives in depths of the sea, and which is fourth ambulatory leg at the very back, and being shaped in the crab. It has a habit of carrying sponges, coral, and shells. This is the means by which the crab attempts to protect itself, camouflaging and mimicking its surrounding. Yet at times select and carries things that is only contrary stand out, make it seem as it wants to presence to be known. when the artist placed 3D print for the doing and make it aquarium, the crab appeared and carried around. Because this is something like a creation by small crab, but also for surviving and to something intentionally. And we just look at the very interesting kind of artistic form from the crab. But when we are talking about this collaboration, also co-being with animals and human, and it's not easy because we don't have any kind of mutual common languages, and how we can understand each other, because only things to be with them, to take care with them, and also to be observing them. So because this Aki Nomata patiently do it. Always, and she did started this kind of project, and she just living with those kind of animals more than 2 years and 1 year. So which is it's quite interesting, and that means something like one scholar says contact zone between animals and human beings. This famous Ringo Kawaguchi, and she's quite famous to take daily life details and to be more kind of eternal, large scale time impact. And she took a series, and one is the pandemic, the other one is like a great Tohoku earthquake victims places. So she just taking pictures because it's quite important how language is, because when she just look at very hazardous and deconstructed site, and birds on it. So she just look at the very special perspective to deal with everything to be together. So that means there's no kind of hierarchy between birds and also those kind of leftovers and destruction. That means her kind of very eyes is very perspective very strong, and to be neutralized all the kind of differentiation between the human and also animals, also all the other environment. This is Kanji Ono's Tomorrow's Tsunami. She's a very young kind of student. It's very strong impact. And he just becomes the eyes of the top of the wave of the tsunami. I just want to show you the videos. すいません。ビデオお願いいたします。He has been researching and caused the researching. Could you imagine this is the height of the top wave of the tsunami? So how tsunami approaches to the coast, the where we live. Because always kind beings thinking about our own land from our perception, but from tsunami, this is very physical, kind of action, and so that of the kind of mass of the water. So in a way, you must understand this tsunami is bringing a lot of kind of sea creatures put into the coast of the land. Many kind of fishes also creatures in the sea died on the land. So also it's a big kind of switch in between, and we really have to think about different kind of perception. Also some reality. This is a kind of wave. attacking us. It's something coming to us. So that is, this things his statement is very neutral, but it's very strong. はい、じゃあこのビデオは、This is artist, and he has been traveling 2,000 kilos. It's very strong, and this, and he took this, yeah, this is the way he took this. But all the data of the height and speed, it's very precisely assimilated as real tsunami. This is very simple, but it's a lot of work. But if we see it, we must change some ideas about the tsunami. Also prepare what we should prepare for the future, to have in the future. はい、次。じゃあこれで終わりにしてください。はい、次に参ります。I have 2 minutes. はい。This new product, because several kind of professor create new products, which is also is very interesting. Kazuhiko Hachiya, he also has a background in engineering, also media art, and also visual artist. And he just creating new work and homemade cave. Which is very interesting, how the animals make a cave and how the cave to be cohabited by the human and animals. Also, and he just creating virtual reality and a VR and a system and to just experience this cave. This must be very interesting for the new technology. This Aki Nomata, she made very anthropological approaches, and it's very interesting. This is an existing piece, and she already shown, but the ideas and simulation, one of the very much isolated island, also how those kind of areas could be has been changed with socially, also natural ecologically. So that means she make some simulation on it, and so make some story. But it's not negative, but it's very lot of the positive ideas how we can do it. Those kind of isolated islands. This is Hatora and Shinflux, and this is a fashion. And Hatora is very famous, and they designed 10 years ago. They designed a very special clothes for hikikomori people. But the hikikomori people just they cannot get out. But if they just wear the very nice kind of housewear, that's sometimes it happens to they get out the home as they like. So in a way, it's inside, outside, inner clothes and outer clothes get the same, because hikikomori people is more can easily get out. So that means they created hikikomori clothes. This always they just think about a new social environment, also new information environment reflecting their fashion design. Hi. Junya Ishigami, and he's quite famous and very special idea about an architect and job is created a space, means to change people's mind, also consciousness perspective. Also, he created a new landscape as a part of the architecture. This is a kind of plan of the he. Now it's going to open very soon. It's a very special kind of restaurant and under the ground. It's like a cave like this. This Stefano Mancuso, and he just created the agent Peanut, and Peanut is also member of visual designer, also digital designer, also architect, also some researcher, also botanist, because he just make a lot of the many books about how the plants, also the trees, have the intelligence itself, and he just try to interpret it, also transformed that intelligence of the trees and sharing with the people. So this is left side. He just working with Dutch artist, and he just censoring the activities of the intellectual activity trees, and the artists created visualize. And this is live, and the right hand side, this is Fabrica del Art area. That means an air factory. So he just created this small kind of glass houses, and this glass house is filtering and the air of the big spaces. It's always a very clean way. So in a way, it's how the combination and also using plants to make things possible. So he just tried to investigate many new ideas and collaborate with an artist, also as an architect. And I was very impressed when I meet him. I was very welcomed. Oh, you are curators to make an exhibition or project. I can do it with you. And whatever I want to use and my knowledge, also my research, last 30 years, that he said. This I really want to just include those people into the exhibition, also art project. The art project means not kind of categorize art world, because we can make a platform to sharing with the public and the people to thinking together. So this is quite important part of my presentation. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Hasegawa-san. Very, very nice presentation. Wonderful presentation. I'm so impressed with your presentation. Not only your presentation, but also your Ukraine colors. Beautiful, beautiful Ukraine colors fashion. And before going to the floor, I have several questions. There are so many artists who are dedicated to tackle with sustainability issues. How or why have you picked up these artists? What they have any strengths, or do you have any criteria to pick up these artists?
Yeah, my intention is because this is this exhibition going to be held in the museum university, because most of the artists, half of the artists alumni this school, it's quite important because they know about the environment of this university. Because this is Ueno no Mori, and lots of kind of forest, also trees around. Also, it's quite important to listen their voice and creation into that environment. Others, I have been working on this kind of research for the last 10 years, because some of the artists I had already worked with, like Moscow, and also, other Thai biennial, because I know them. They are kind of, much eager to just working with this topic. That means those kind of sincerity, trust, is very important, an element, which why I just picked up this artist.
In answer to that, what Japanese artists can contribute to this movement, or is there any strengths of Japanese artists?
Because I cannot say trend, because artists are always very much kind of concerned, very kind of sensitive about, what happened around them. Because in a way, it's not only kind of natural environment, also social environment, people kind of psychological environment, also information environment. Because, I can say, for instance, I worked with rhythmatics. Rhythmatics are very much concerned about, digital network, also so-called new environment. They just positively hacking into their own kind of given and provided an environment, but it's a very critical way. So because an artist just react, make an interaction, also even with hacking, also interpretation to where they live. So that means, if an artist has those kind, directions or perspective, and I can say those kind of Japanese artists are always, everybody like that, it has a kind of sense of the, sharing this kind of ideas. Yeah, but I can say.
Now we are going to take some questions from the floor or the online.
Yes, we have one question from online, and I hope this will get started for you for questions here on the floor. This is a question from our guest, Raquel Nakayama. Hasegawa Sensei, thank you for a very moving presentation. I could feel your passion on this endeavor. When did you start this initiative? Can you talk about when you started this initiative?
There are several kinds, and for instance, regarding this exhibition, I started to work with 2 years ago, but this ideas of the initiative to prepare a future to seeking for sustainability through art, I just started almost 20 years ago, but I just positively and actively to make a research about several places like Amazon. So that means 10 years ago, yeah, because those kind of the phenomena become very strong, very visible, because many kind of scholars, philosophers, also anthropologists, starting talk about this, because also artists are learning from them, also as well as myself, because also art world is very much concerned about, those kind of has been changing. So that means, and everything is coming up to the last 10 years. So that I was initiated.
Thank you, Hasegawa-san, for...
Hi, I'm Dan Fuji. And first of all, thank you today for your presentation. And also, I visited your museum last fall with Aso-san, and thank you again for touring us of your beautiful facility there. Watching today's presentation, it seems that there's, and I think you picked the theme this time for more of a dynamic artistic presentation using the 5 senses. Music, so you're listening, you maybe see. It's very different from a traditional type of art. And with the world accelerating into software technology, there was usage of a drone in one of the videos. Is this trend moving away from more still type of art to more dynamic type of art? And using the technology, sometimes the software or even artificial intelligence can create the art. And so it's not so much that the artist leads the process, but the computer can lead the process. And so I would think that there's some debate or discussion or thinking in your world between traditional type of art versus maybe alternative art or new type of dynamic art. Which is better, which is really art? And are we moving away from, let's say, we're talking about contemporary art, but are we now moving into a new genre of art that's based on more software and technology created art? And as a curator, how do you decide which is the type of art that people want? And I think part of it's driven by the market, by what people are willing to pay, what people view as good. But if you're more of a traditionalist, you would think maybe video and artificial intelligence really is not pure art. So I just maybe wanted to get your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a very good question, because I don't know, you might see an exhibition, the Olafur Eliasson exhibition, which I curated MOT, Tokyo Contemporary Museum, Tokyo, 3 years ago. And Olafur has a language is very so-called very immersive installation, light and mist, and also a lot of the paintings and the sculptures. It's a quite authentic and visual language he has. But also he's very much concerned about, because to make a drawings he just using melt water from glacier. So that means he said this is a collaboration, glacier and himself. So in a way artworks, I don't think it's a big shift from the traditional form of the art to those kind of media-based art, because sometimes I just lot of the media-based art looks like also videos, because many artists and so-called research-based artists is coming up, because a lot of the change our environment. So in a way, this is quite urgent matter for the artists, also some reality. So this is one part, but just one part, because art has a very enormous diversity as a kind of medium, also languages. Also still many kinds of excellent artists working for this traditional medium. Traditional means painting and drawing and also sculptures. Because also I just missed to show at one of the artist Motohiko Odani. He just created woodcut sculptures. That's going to be amazing and beautiful in this show. And please come. This must be surprising because it's a figurative sculpture, but motif and also come from very Italian kind of sculpture like. It's a lot of the allegory, it's a metaphor, but it's very strong to talk about today. So this is.
I'm very curious of NFT these days. I think in these presentations we got some animations and probably some software-related things. What do you think about the blockchain technologies which just which are going to be affected to the art? And also that I really interested in that NFT art is going to be a real sort of art complex in the art industry in the future.
Because there are many questions I have regarding NFT, because this is kind of rising also and emerging kind of areas and also medium, and people just try to learning. So I don't have any kind of clear answer because I'm not an expert in the NFT. But there are two things I can say is NFT. Because NFT is long time media artists, so-called digital creative artists, and they don't have any particular position in the market. So in a way, after invention of NFT, and the media artists and artists make those kind of using media also digital technology has their own position in the market as an artist. That means they can make a life. So which is very important. So another thing, NFTs and function is art because also expanded a lot of kind of new kind of collector. Also, somebody who interested in art. So they looked at a completely different kind of category and also expression in so-called art, because that we cannot follow it sometimes. So in a way, they created a new kind of expression and also style of the genre of the art and in the NFT market. That's the second thing. Also, thirdly, I'm talking with many other directors in the foreign museum, and because you might know the British museums make an NFT and hokusai and paintings and NFT. So in a way, many people just buy it and they have a kind of ownership and a part of that hokusai. In a way, if you just make a Mona Lisa's painting in the Louvre, for instance, like 1 million people has one of the 1 million owners of the Mona Lisa to support Louvre. So that means sometimes this is the idea of how the blockchain and also NFT and those kind of medium, because they totally changed those kind of monitoring system, market system, because we really have to be very clever, also sensible to just improve the way to use NFT, also to put a new value to the art. So this is kind of, a very important kind of topic I'm considering. I just want to also listen to you. You might have a lot of kind of ideas and thoughts, and even very, experimental and ideas.
Thank you. Here's a good, that was actually a really good segue to this question that came online from Horiuchi-san, who is the co-chair of the Arts Committee. He says, this is a little bit abstract, but would you tell me the difference between art price and art value? Sometimes I don't quite understand the price structure of art when looking at the crazy price of an artwork at auction.
That's a very difficult question to answer. There's many kinds of, like an answer must be. And it's quite important, and what the value is. and what is the price is. Because the price is also raised up determined by kind of market system. Because it's kind of, system and could be kind of engine to just put, activate people's desire. Desires are very competitive. Sometimes not real desire. Sometimes desire could be very superficial and could be something kind of fake. But those desires comes up to a certain kind, make it a certain prices. So this is a system. But the value is. But value is who decided the value. So this is very much strong kind of question about. Because when I look at very unknown, a painter who died, who just created, 500 and almost 1,000 paintings, and he never out of their village. But those kind of village people holding his painting, her paintings. So that means, totally unknown. But for those kind of village people, that painting is a treasure. That's a value. So this is very kind of personal, very subjective value. But sometimes those kind of unknown paintings, and I found it's a very great, beautiful, it's amazing values for me, from my expertise and point of view. So this is a kind of way to value. Sometimes very subjectively decided. But in a way, also museum is also the system to create the value. Value is a common value. It's a kind of so-called global value. Because for instance, like if a museum buy one of the painter's artworks, because a museum never sell, that means the museum have to keep it, that painting A. But museum thinking about, they take responsibility to create an art history. So that means, what the context is, and what is the predecessor, who is the successor. Museums start to follow those kind of, successor, predecessor as other painter. They created and make some kind of rich context. So in a way, for instance, like pop art, expressionism, because for instance, they could find as a very current, strong artist, who is a kind of predecessor. Who is a successor? So in a way, it's a museum created to, those kind of art history and context, and in a context. So that means they are showing, and repeatedly showing, to just look at asking the people, how do you think about that? So with the text, also to just using their feedback. That means those kind of collective, also common consciousness supporting that painting, that become value. So that means, also it's a quite, important, very patient work, and the museum has to be working for a long time. That means, museum with a collection is super important. That means we have to take responsible and creating art history. But it's not art history for everybody, not a global art history, but, in a way, it's from certain areas and those kind of, regional. And even if Japan, the context is very important. So that means, for instance, like, when you look at strong strategy and Tate Modern, also MoMA New York, so Pompidou's, and they just invited many kind of friends, also, supporter from the global kind of, areas to just make something, global and contextualization, but based on their own modernism. So in a way, no one can make any global values, but people, even the museum people can start their own backbone core collection to just expanding to that this is a value we can share with you, even if you are living on the other side of the world. So this is a kind of way of the thinking.
Okay, we have another question here from online. It's a follow-up question from Nakayama-san. And she says, this is a follow-up question from Dan's question. In New York, One Vanderbilt Summit by Kenzo Digital, Kenzo Hakuta, would you consider this a platform or collaboration between digital form and environment in New York? I have been reading so much about it and look forward to going there to experience. Do you have any thoughts around that?
Sorry, you are talking about a digital form. What kind of,
It's called One Vanderbilt Summit by Kenzo Digital.
Kenzo Digital.
It's a collab. She's asking, would you consider this a platform or a collaboration between digital form and environment?
Digital form and environment.
Yes.
What means, I just need more articulation about the environment. So what means, is it there are so many kind of words and even if a digital world is they're using ecosystem, their own ecosystem. Sorry, I'm not clear about what the digital form is environment. There are many kinds of different type of the things.
Okay. Let me ask her.
Sorry, if I just know about more kinds of and
yes. Let's see if she could follow up. Raquel-san, if you could follow up and be a little bit more specific, we'd appreciate it.
I just check it. Yeah.
During this time, I have one question that I like to ask if there's no questions from the floor. Oh, there's a question from Dan.
Japan, obviously, on a global basis, is a very small part of the global art market. But during Corona, this past couple of years, it seems that there's a boom for contemporary art amongst young people, which is a great trend. So I want to know, one, why you thought more and more young people are getting into contemporary art. And then the other thing is, what do you think that Japan needs to do, maybe 2 or 3 things, to expand the art business or art world here in Japan, because it's so small?
Because I'm professor of the university, and also, and I have to, talking about more academic side. Also, I'm curator at Contemporary Museum. I had to talk with more practical side. But, in a way, from academic approaches, I think, in a way, Japan side is very kind of weak to just theorized. Also, creating a text, and it's very weak, and those kind of given some strong kinds of an idea about what is Japanese art itself. Because when I just created the Japanorama exhibition in Pompidou Metz 4 years ago, I just make an anthology with inviting several kinds of authors, because each one has a completely different approaches to explain about Japanese contemporary art, because of they knows about they're very used to writing text and thesis in English, because they knows about the context and English and language, also structure of the understanding. So in a way, it's very important those kind of interpretation, also translation, how Japanese art is based on what kind of background, what kind of history, what of the kind of emotion, and what is the sensation. So it's quite important to just describe the properly. So that means discourse, and creation is very important. That's one thing. Also, second part is because also there are many excellent gallerists. Also, those kind of gallerists and also younger people collaborate with foreign gallery. That means they can share the same perspective and the same kind of taste of that. That means it's very important how we discuss with them, to collaborate with them, to promote Japanese artists, because it's very important. There is physical presentation places, gallery, museum, art fair, and also now internet. So, but on the internet, different strategy, and they must have, so that including an NFT market. So, in a way, it's quite important to, how they present artworks, and physically, also digitally, online, offline. How that kind of story, also discourse behind that. So it's art is not eye candy, because I just give a certain comfort, but it's easy to forget. So in a way, the other side is very important, kind of strong kind of history. That's to just connect the history of the art, the history of the art. That means a common value. So, these two things is quite important to, I can suggest. Also, meet good curators. Yeah, because it's very interesting. Sorry, this is my personal. I just Twitters, and I'm not very lazy. I'm not doing Twitters often. And I met John Apchapon Wensetakun, and he's a very famous Thai film directors. And we just went to Ueno Park, just to look at sakura, and we are a long-time friend. And we just having beautiful lunch boxes, and look at that, because we are talking about, it's like an old couples, like this, And so it means, Joe, when we met, so somebody introduced, oh, this is something. So we just talking about stories as friend, because Joe is also visiting Professor Tamayata University. He's coaching a lot of the video young artists, students, but they don't have any kind of opportunity to meet curators. So that means sometimes it's showing the gallery, but those kind of videos, long films and short films, it's not so easy. So showing the gallery. So in a way, they are looking for why and how young and the artist and kind of creator, filmmaker can meet and proper curators, working with them to understand them, to just go being with them. So, this is a topic, and we just talking. It's like an old kind of, おじさんおばあさんみたいな。で、like Tokyo Story みたいな。で、so we are talking about all the films. So that means I just put Twitters on it. So one day, all the 200 people loves something like that. So it's this kind of the very personal stories, and part of the daily life conversation must move them. So this is interesting for me. Yeah, something. Yes. How meet the curators?
Yes. Next question comes from James Kondo.
Thank you so much. James Kondo from International House and Asia Society. Related to your last comment about the curator, one of the things that Asia Society and I think iHouse want to support is more curators in Japan. So we'd love to learn how to do that. But at the same time, my question is about the future of curators. In many other disciplines, the role of the expert is being challenged, partially from machine and intelligence, and humans just cannot process causality and analysis as much as machines can. So their ability is being questioned. But also, you touched on Twitter at the end. The influence map is changing. So the respect and the standing and the forum that the expert used to have is being challenged by many other forms of influencers. So in other fields, the kind of equivalent experts and curators are being either challenged or diminished or somehow kind of evolving. How do you see the curators in the art world evolving in the future, and what can we do to support kind of new types of curators that you think are needed in the future?
Because that's a very good question. Because normally in Japan, curators, so-called museum curators, they are almost like a researcher and their own kind of specialty and areas, and also showing their kind of result of the research, something like that. For me, kind of German, impressions, expressions, paintings show it's I'm expert in German, so something like that. So also Japanese like Mingei is very expert in Japanese craft, something like that. This is also very important, keeping and preserving and researching their collection. This is very one of the typical images and majorities in Japan and people's hearts. But the images the curators, I say curators are researcher and also producer, also writers and thinker, and also mediator, also it's very important facilitator. So we have to make a workshop, also the place to people just gathering to activate a discussion, and also writing and a book, and also curating the show. Because make a project, also sometimes produce a museum or art spaces. And those kind of curatorial practice very diverse. So in a way, this is not enough to just expertise of the art history, also art theory. So in a way, it's a very cross-disciplinary and knowledge. Also, and a network is very important. It's much concerned about what happened to the socio-political topic. So this is images and also very probably expected images and curator. That means I don't want to promote my own faculty, but department. But when I just started this master course, student global arts, and I'm kind of the professor at the coaching and the curatorial section. None of them to just study art history and they own an undergraduate. They come from philosophy, they come from anthropology, they come from economics. That means an amazing success. So, because I just quickly input and how you just learn the art history, also theory, and also, I just ask them to have the research to meet with artists to just analyze the exhibition, also display system, how communication could be possible. So, in a way, art should be, lived with people. And your kind of correspondence means your neighbors, also your audiences, because otherwise art is just only kind of storage, also in a memory of the art history. So it's very important to pick up the art to be lived with the people. So this is the education I did. Also, luckily, there are many kind of foreign and a student we have. It's very diverse. So in a way, and also diversity, also to just understand, and your understanding, your taste, also your kind of position is a part of the world. But lots of kind of, diversity, lots of kind of different way of thinking, also taste could be exist. You have to really exchange to learning from that. Also through those kind of, and process, you just kind of establish your own kind of and curatorial languages. So this is a kind of education system. So it's quite important to just consider about those kind of cross-disciplinary approaches, also global and connection, and also locally and strong research. So this is a kind of expected curators images which I have. Because those kind of curators can coordinate on the tables, for instance. You can suggest your own interiors. Also, how you can, and you just make several meetings and global kind of students, also different kind of generation people just come together on conferences. They can allocate it a nice session on the tables to activate a very evocative conversation. So something like that. So the curatorial making relational value. That is the definition.
We have a follow-up question from Nakayama-san to be a little bit more specific. She says, Kenzo's project was about using his expertise as a well-known digital artist with very deep roots in New York. When he opened his exhibit called Air in December 2021, it was about mind bending, a new immersive art experience within the Summit One Vanderbilt. He is presenting as a dedication of his love to New York environment. So that's her follow-up.
Okay, thank you.
So if you have any comments.
What the New York environment means, and environment means, and all the question is, because data, they just collected a lot of the data. Data analysis could be visualized, or kind of more collected and kind of emotional kind of phenomena, So this is, how their approaches is. So because immersive is, more kind of the phenomenological approaches and what this installation is. So this the details I need to know about that. Sorry, and because I should be very articulated if I just give any comments. Sorry.